Watkins from Your Black World, and I couldn't help but to be a little bit disturbed by a study at the University of Chicago that really, I think, confirms what we already know. It just sometimes it's hard to see because it hits you right in the face and reminds you of exactly where you stand and what you're up against. According to the study, and you can read more about it on financialjuneteenth.com, basically the researchers, Derek Neal and Armin Rick, have unearthed data that effectively shows that black men, economically and otherwise, socioeconomically, have not advanced one bit since 1970. Now, that's over 40 years that black men have not moved forward at all. Now, I will say this: it's not a coincidence that 40 years ago was about the time that the war on drugs began. About 1971, Richard Nixon pushed forward some legislation that effectively began the process that really acclimated in the 1980s, in which mass incarceration was implemented, which Michelle Alexander, a good friend of mine, basically has referred to in her book, the new Jim Crow. And one thing that I think people have to understand is just how severe, how serious this mass incarceration epidemic has been when it comes to destroying the black family, destroying the black community. Most of the gender wars that you see going on now between black men and black women, where we seem to kind of go at each other and families can't stay together and everybody wants to blame everybody else. A lot of that started because of the war on drugs. Because if you want to destroy a community, you start by destroying the male. When you take the father out of the household, it reshapes the structure, it reshapes the culture, it reshapes the next generation. Young men don't have role models to teach them how to be men. Young women don't have male role models to teach them how to deal with men. So when those children grow up, they don't want to be a family. They don't see the necessity in doing that. They say they want to be a family, but they don't have a clue what it takes to really hold a family together. So we're really in that second, maybe even the third generation of what the war on drugs did to the black community. And if you want to know how I feel about that, that's really been my life mission. That is the most important thing on my plate right now. I've dedicated my life to this. That's why you constantly see me writing on this. You constantly see me speaking on this. You constantly see me pushing this. And we've been able to achieve some progress. Last year, Russell Simmons and I got together and we got 175 celebrities and scholars and activists to sign an open letter that we wrote to President Obama. The White House was not initially all that receptive, but eventually they came around. And I want to applaud everybody who supported that initiative. Everybody from Will Smith and Jamie Foxx to Brad Pitt, Jesse Jackson, Michelle signed it as well, Alexander, even Reverend Al Sharpton. I mean, at the end of the day, my goal was to say, look, I don't care if people agree or disagree. We all have to agree on this issue. You can disagree with other things that a person might say, but if you find something that you agree on, that's the time to work together. We have to unify our power to deal with this issue so we can rebuild our families. But here's another thing. If you really look at just the general culture and you look at kind of what's happening with young black men, and you see how young black men grow into old black men, and you see how society shapes these men into what we become in society later on in life. You see a variety of outcomes. You see some men who overcome, some men who don't. Sometimes that overcoming is due to luck. Sometimes it's due to skill. Sometimes it's due to what you've been taught. And what I would say is that we have to understand this right now. Black men, black people, America does not love you. America, in comparison to other countries, we always talk about the Holocaust in Nazi Germany, and we accept that. We talk about Joseph Stalin killing 20 million Russians. That's another Holocaust. We accept that. We talk about other forms of abuse that occur in society against the gay community. We accept that. Against women. We accept that. But for some reason, America does not accept what it has done to the black man and black woman and black family over the last several hundred years. And we don't accept the fact that it continues to this day. The abuse continues to this day. We get longer prison sentences. We're more likely to be stopped by police, more likely to be arrested by police. We're more likely to be sent to prison by the court system. We get longer sentences when we are sent to prison. Many of these men are innocent. They just had to take a plea deal because they were told basically that being a big black man, it means that you're not going to get a fair trial because the jury is not a jury of your peers. Understand this. People around the world see it exactly as it is. They look at America and they say, wait a minute, you talk about what Hitler did to the Jews, but you don't realize that what you're doing to black people, what you have consistently done to black people, the blatant human rights violations you've committed against black people are more severe than what anybody is doing around the world in all these countries that you're complaining about, because you've done it over several hundred years and you refuse to even acknowledge it or try to fix it. So at the end of the day, we are always at a war. We are always in a situation where, when from the moment your son comes onto this earth, there are systems in place designed to destroy him. There is a culture in place. He's being bombarded with messages that are going to push him to become an alcoholic or a drug addict, that are going to push him to engage in criminal activity. That's why my second biggest issue is with this damn hip hop music coming from corporations. I'm not talking about real hip hop. I'm not talking about real artists. Guys like Immortal Technique, Jasiri X, Killer Mike, guys who really know how to rap, who are really putting out good music. I'm talking about these corporate coons that are basically paid money to remind your son that he ain't meant to be nothing but a pants sagging thug who carries a liquor bottle in one hand and a gun in the other, and he's supposed to go shoot a nigga in the face and disrespect women his whole life and waste all his money. That is incredibly self-destructive. And if you disagree with me, then I say you can go to hell. Because at the end of the day, if we don't fight this, if we don't stand up and deal with this, if we don't fight and destroy everything in our path when it comes to saving black men, our community will continue to be eaten alive. So here's the first thing you have to do. This is very important. You have to make sure that your child knows how to run a business. They don't have to necessarily be an entrepreneur. They don't have to be a full-time entrepreneur. I'm not saying that. Not running a business ain't for everybody. Fine. But they need to have that as a backup plan so they don't have to spend their whole life begging a white man to give them a job when the white man has already told you in 10,000 ways that he hates your guts. Now, I'm not talking about every white man. We know there's good white people, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, whatever. The fact is, though, that when your son steps out into this world, the world don't love him the way you do. You have to prepare him. Make sure that he learns how to have his own business. On Financial Juneteenth, I'm going to offer a free class on wealth building for children. It's going to be absolutely free, and then I'm going to work with some other people to try to come up with something on how to start a business for children as well. But the wealth building class for children is an important first step because it will help your son understand how to manage his money and how to build his wealth and how to ignore the influences that exist in our society that are designed to keep him broke and begging and sorry and weak and pathetic. Don't no woman want to marry a pathetic man. But unfortunately, we have a community where so many of our boys are sprinkled with messages that say, if I want to be wealthy, I need to be the next Dr. Dre. I need to be the next LeBron James. And so it works for LeBron and Dr. Dre, but 99.9% of those kids who try to do the same thing fall to the wayside because many of them throw away educational opportunities so they can try to be the next LeBron James. There's nothing more pathetic than a washed up former athlete who never got any education, who spent his life living like a thug. He's not going to be a good husband and father. That's why black women are the most educated group of people in America, because they're not living on that pipe dream of trying to get into the NBA. And black men are we're not anywhere near where black women are. And I don't care what anybody says. You can say that I'm bashing black men. I'm not bashing them. I'm just telling the truth. When I go around the corner to talk to Minister Farrakhan, we have the same conversation about this. Black men have to be pushed to step up because the world is not going to step down to accommodate you. The world is not going to take its foot off of your neck. You have to have the strength to lift their foot off your neck and take out your adversary if you have to. Now, every black child needs to learn how to have their own business. You have to push education as the most important thing in a child's life. That is the most important thing in the world, and education does not just occur in a school. Sure, going to school can educate you to a point, absolutely, and you should do that. But the greatest university in the history of the world is called Google.com. So when I talk to my kids and we're talking about learning something, they ask me a question, I say Google it. If they want to know about a historical figure, I say go Google it. If they want to make some money, I say here, I'll give you $10 to write a report on Harriet Tubman. Make sure your child understands the value of education and lifelong learning, as well as the value of critical thinking, because in this world, if you're not a critical thinker, somebody's going to tell you what to think. The last thing that I want you to do is separate your child from the culture. The black male culture, unfortunately, a substantial component of it. I'm not talking about everybody, but a lot of it is dominated by the bullshit on the radio. You got a lot of people. I mean, I can't tell you how many kids I know who can't read a sentence, but can recite Two Chains lyrics down to a T. They can tell you what a thought is. A thought is THOT. This stands for that hole over there. That's a Two Chains concept that the rappers all use now, and now the kids all know what it is. So to me, it's sad when you see so much genius and brilliance being shown when it comes to following what so and so did on Love and Hip Hop, or what this rapper did, or what this other person did, but that genius dies when it comes to knowing the basics of reading, writing, and math, which is really what's going to make you successful in this world. So separate your child from that culture. In the summertime, get them involved in summer programs. There's a great program up in Massachusetts called MS Squared. It stands for Math and Science for Minority Students. It's a great program. My brother was in it. Sorry, I'm doing a screencast, and sometimes my Facebook notifications pop up. Um, and it's a class for minority students. It's a great program for the summer that basically says that, or takes kids and pushes them to go to top universities. They're getting positive peer influence as opposed to negative. That's what you want your child to be involved with. I encourage you to look into that. If you can't do that, then do some things with your child at night. Do some things with the child on the weekend. Push them to separate from the culture. Talk to them about the ignorance that's out here, and teach them to be a leader and not a follower. Because the fact of the matter is that we can beg all day, we can hope all day that people are going to change policies so that our boys are not destroyed the way they are. But I guarantee you that, unfortunately, the world is not going to change that much. And I would hate for us to get to the year 2054 and for people to see another study that says black men have not advanced since the year 2014. That would be sad. So let's not let that happen to our people. Let's be strong. I'm Dr. Boyce Watkins from Your Black World. You can also go to financialjuneteenth.com to get all kinds of information about wealth building, economic empowerment, stuff like that. I'm a finance professor. That's what I do. So until we meet again, stay strong, be blessed, and be educated. I'm gone. Peace.